Hey, I'm Jamie at Leaping Cat Model Works. Today we're going to go over the proper way to prep and paint the drums that are in my shop. There's different ways to do it, and really when it comes to preparing these things, there's probably 1,000 different ways to do it. These are ways that I found out that kind of work best for me. First off, when you get the drum, you're going to receive them something like this. And I'm using my standard flat top drum for this process. And what you're going to notice is when you flip the drum over on the bottom, see, you can see here in the little video, there's these little divots in the bottom of it. Those divots are from the 3D printing process. Again, all the drums, or all the products I sell are ones that I design and 3D print locally here in my shop. I don't outsource any of this. These are not mass produced. So the divots are in the bottom of it. It really depends on what you're going to do with the drum and your placement of it. Divots may be fine if you set the drum upright or to the side where people are not looking at it. But if it bothers you, there's an easy way to clean it up. What I do is I start with some kind of flush nips. These are actually, I think I bought them at a department store, Walmart, Target, whatever. You can find these in the nail section. And it's really just a pair of flush like clips, I guess, for toenails, things like that. I don't use them for my toenails. I use them for my model work. I found out these, you can actually get pretty close with these. So they have the bottom, the little divots that kind of stick out, and just by going around you can get majority of them off flush with the drum itself. And I guess really divots are not the right word. They're really the support for the 3D prints. It's the same thing like if you have the spruce or other 3D models. Usually they come connected to the spruce, and you have to cut the spruce and get it all cleaned up. So there's that one. This one here, we can kind of repeat the process on it. I'm not going to spend too much time with these. And there. That's pretty much done. You can call it down there if you want to go a little bit further with it. You can sand it. Again, these are 3D printed items. I recommend doing what I call wet sanding, which is I'm using the distilled water and a number 400 file. And I just kind of spritz some water on the file. The water helps cut down on the dust from the plastic material. And I'm just going to rub this along the bottom. And again, I'm just trying to make the divots blend in. And you just want to kind of take your time with it. I do the same thing for the other one. Alright, once you have them done, you can just wipe off the excess on your paper towel. Alright, and then we're ready to start painting. So, let's decide on the color that we're going to paint them. I already decided, but we'll play along here. Easiest color drum you can paint is black. What I recommend for black, I use basically black primer. I already got mine mixed up in a little eyedropper type thing, and I'm just going to put a drop in my paint tray. You can use an inexpensive brush for this. All right. And I'm just going to dip my brush into my primer, and I'm just going to go over the drum. You can use an airbrush if you want. Just because I'm doing a few of them and not everybody has access to an airbrush, I'm just going to hand paint these. All right, we'll call that one good enough for now. Just kind of pick it up where the tweezers were. Put it in, and I'm going to let that dry. The next one, I'm actually going to paint red. And just so you know about the colors of it, black is kind of the default drum for lubricants, oils, and all kinds of other various things that come in drums. Green is another color variation, and I actually have a blog post on my website that kind of goes over the different colors of drums, and you can Google it and come up with your own color combination. There's even multicolored drums that I've seen, and it really just depends on where on the layout you're going to be using the drums. Another common color you're going to find out is actually red. For like hazardous material or explosives or flammable material, things like that. For that, I kind of start off with some gray primer. And again, you do want to use some primer with it. You don't have to use primer. I prefer to use primer because it kind of fills in the little gaps, little imperfections on the surface. Again, I'm going to use a, let's see which one, yeah, 00. I'm using a 0 brush, another small brush, and I'm just going to start with my primer. Hold this drum the same way, and just start working in the paint. You don't have to do 100% coverage on it. Just make sure you do a decent amount of coverage. You don't want it blotchy. It may take a coat or two. Again, just kind of just want to take your time with it. There we go. You get the basic idea. I'll go ahead and cover the bottom of it here. And I'm going to come around and do the same thing here on the top. All right. And pretty much have that. There we go. So there we have both of them primered, and what I would do is let these sit up for a little bit. Let the primer dry and come back and do your other coat. Since this is a magic video, I already did these two ahead of time. Actually planed ahead, can you believe that? And have the black one. Again, not completely black, there's some spots I missed on this one, but with the black primer it's easy enough to come back and touch up. Yes, I know I'm not using my tweezers on that one, but that's okay. I'm using acrylic paint anyway. And we'll call this one done. That would be great seen in your diesel shop or something like that, on the side of the road or wherever you want to put it on your layout. The next one we're actually going to paint red. I'm using basically Micromark Air Flat Red. I have no ties with Micromark. I just enjoy their paints. Alright, so we have the red paint there in the tray, and we're going to come back and do the same process here. Again, this has been primered. Come in and pick up some red paint. I want to start with the top of it. And I'm just going to smooth the paint around, work it into all the crevices, and start down the side here. And again, you don't have to do red. You can do any color you really kind of want. It's your layout. Do what you feel is good with it. Blue's another good color. The yellow's another good color. Alright, I'll drop this one down. Just kind of reposition my tweezers here. And just make sure I got decent coverage on the drum. Alright. What I'm going to do is let that one sit there and dry. And when you're done with it, do I have one here? I don't have one, I already did. So we're going to let that dry and we'll come back, put another second coat on it. Just want to make sure it kind of blends in. And I use a non-gloss paint. Flat paint works better. You don't really want shiny things on your layout. At least I don't want shiny things on my layout because they distract the viewer. The old joke is, oh, shiny thing. So I try to keep the paints kind of dull and make sure everything blends in. So I'm going to let that sit up, and we'll come back and we'll do another second coat of paint on it here in just a few minutes. Alright, I appreciate it, and I'll be right back. Alright, we're back with our drums, and really the red one that we started painting here, I really just let dry for like 15 minutes, maybe not even that. It really depends on the paint that you use. Some people allow them to dry 24 hours or more. It really depends on the paint you're using and what you're doing with it. Again, I've used this paint enough. I know I can get away with 15 minutes and come back with a second coat. And I'm just going to do that. Alright, I'm just going to touch up the top. Alright. And finally, just to kind of the very bottom, just so I feel good about it. Alright. And there you have it. And I kind of messed up a little bit. I was rushing it. I didn't clean my tweezers, and there is still some residue from the other paint job on it, and it's kind of got on this one a little bit. It's easy enough to clean up and move away. Adds a little bit of character. Most people are not going to notice it anyway. So there you go. It's an easy peasy process to paint the drums, and as you see, painting drums is pretty easy peasy. It doesn't require a lot of time or a lot of effort. You can be very creative with it. And again, drums are a quick way to spice up your model layout or your industrial scene around houses, and however you desire to use them. I appreciate you, and thank you for your time, and thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye.